What's going on, everybody? Dots Gaming here, and today I'm bringing you guys an update from Zenimax Online Studios about PvP going into 2022. And I don't necessarily think I expected actually a post like this, but I'm pleasantly surprised. And so, that's why we have the video today. I do want to just discuss this post, kind of discuss my thoughts about it and where we go from here, and just kind of discuss, I think, a lot of the issues that have been floating around the game recently, and just kind of talk about, I think, how we got here and where we need to go forward with things, I think, for just honestly for the health of the game at this point. But let's start off with this post first. Discuss this and discuss what we think about it. I'm going to be kind of commenting my thoughts along the way. It's long past time to give everyone an update on where we are with PvP improvements. As many of you know, we did a series of tests over the last year to give us more data. These tests were successful and gave us the information we needed. We now have a plan going forward, but it's going to take some time. Just like we did for the client a year or so back when we introduced multi-threaded rendering to increase client frame rates, we're going to be re-architecting our servers. The version of ESO in 2022 is many magnitudes larger and more complex than the ESO that launched in 2014. So in order to give everyone a good experience in high-intensity situations like PvP and trials, we essentially need to rewrite some of the foundational code to account for it. This should dramatically increase server performance, but we're obviously going to need to test and evaluate as we go along. And to me, this kind of speaks to like the way that the game just, I feel like, fundamentally handles data was just not programmed as, efficiently as it could have been. And at least that's what I kind of draw from this, and I think that that's what they are going to be working on, and which I'm very obviously happy to hear. We've been planning this for the last quarter, and we're starting to work on it right now. But as you can imagine, changing the fundamentals of a huge live game such as ESO is a delicate and multi-step process, so expect this to take up much of 2022. Much of the early work is going to happen behind the scenes, and we're definitely not going to rush it. A re-architecture of this magnitude will require the entire game to be retested and evaluated, as this particular code is the foundation on which the game is built. It will take tons of QA and testing time as well, and I'm sure that when the time comes, we'll do as large of a test as we can on the PTS. In the meantime, we're going to consider adding additional ways to keep Cyrodiil and Battlegrounds interesting and exciting. For example, special rule sets or weekend events. I want to just touch on this real quick. I think that on top of this, which I do think is a great idea, doing stuff with IC like double tell VAR would also be a really good thing as well. But I will say that while they are, and while, if Zenimax, if you are watching, while you guys are doing the year of performance improvements, which again, another year of performance though, but I feel like this one feels a little bit different this time. I don't know, maybe I could be being a little bit naive, but I think that along the course of this year, I think there's no reason you can't start to improve the reward tracks of Cyrodiil, Battlegrounds, and Imperial City. Great. It's not new content. It's not like you're adding in new content, because I do agree with the line that you have here. We're not going to be adding any new features in PvP until the work above mentioned is complete, because this would only prolong the fixes that we want to implement and exacerbate the issues of poor performance. You're adding more code onto a broken foundation. There's no point in doing that if what you already have doesn't even work. It's going to make it even more difficult to work it, plus fix it. Plus the man hours that you would have working on these new things would now be taken away from the fixing, and that's not personally what I want, and I think many other people don't want that. So I agree with this sentiment, but I think that over the course of the year, you can start to improve the rewards further for Battlegrounds and for Cyrodiil. The Alliance War ranks, Battleground quests, the various Battleground rewards. Again, adding more these IC events, weekend events for Cyrodiil, special rule sets for BGs, certain items in the Crown Store like those siege skins I mentioned, houses related to PvP. Like, these are things that can be added for PvP that are not, quote, new content, but they just make the current content feel more incentivized to do. And I think that would be a really good thing to do over the course of the year personally, before, and I think that would kind of bide your time, at least, while these fixes are being done, before these fixes are hopefully implemented, work to some capacity, and then new content goes from there. In short, we completely understand the frustration many of you are feeling, especially with the lack of information about our PvP plans. Yes, I think that this post is obviously very good. I'm very happy to see this. But I kind of do personally wish that a little bit earlier we got something like, hey, we're kind of weighing our options still on what we can do before we implement kind of a long-term plan. You know, we have an idea of what we want to do, but we want to kind of exhaust other options. And maybe you guys did say that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like that would have gone a long way. But this was a huge decision we make. We needed to make sure we had exhausted all of the possibilities before announcing this. We're going to give you periodic updates over the course of the year. And I think this is something that people who don't program like need to kind of take into account, that going through old code, especially old code that you didn't write, is extremely difficult. It's extremely challenging. Changing it and fixing it live is even more difficult. And this is obviously, ESO is a very large game. It's a lot of code, a lot to go through. And I understand the sentiment behind they wanted to try a lot of different things before they walked this long, difficult path. But I will say that I'm glad that they're not just saying this is going to be too challenging, so fuck it. And instead, they're going to say, you know what? We tried other things. They didn't work. We're going to now take the long path, the difficult path, and we're going to start, you know, fixing things at the bottom, the fundamental level, to start to improve performance. And I know there have been posts floating around from Zenimax asking, how can we improve our communication? What do you guys want to see? And again, I can only speak for myself in this video, and obviously this is just my opinion. This is exactly the kind of post I've personally wanted to see. I think this post from Matt is great. I think it gives us an insight into the thought process they've had over the last couple of quarters, their plans going forward, their thoughts about what we're going to do in the meantime. This is a fantastically written post, and I think it's really, really good. I'm liking it. And the thing, though, that will give me more long-term faith, because I'm not going to be naive and just like blindly be like, oh, everything's going to be fine. You know, I think what's going to give me more long-term hope is if these periodic updates that Matt is talking about actually come through. If we start to actually get the communication, this is the first, in my opinion, it's the first step that we've needed to get the communication that we have, the PvP community is wanted. And I think that if we continue to get these periodic updates over the course of 2022, I think it's going to be a really good sign going into the future. Now, it's ironic because the issue that I have, though, and the sticking point that I have is actually nothing to do with this post, but kind of how we got here. It is such a shame the way that this post had to come about, man. I have been playing this game for a long time, and I've never seen the tensions in the community, just the whole thing, the devs, PvE, PvP, casual. I've never seen the level of tension that we've seen now. And it is such a fucking shame, man. It really, really is. I think, and I'll kind of speak to kind of every group personally, starting, you know, I think that the devs kind of need to understand that a lot of the frustration has been just people wanting an update like this on a product that they pay for that doesn't work. That's what it fundamentally boils down to, right? People are frustrated that something that they pay for and spend time in just doesn't work. And we've just wanted some sort of an update that, like, hey, is like anything happening? Are you guys trying anything? Is there any fixes coming? Or am I just kind of like shouting into the wind here? And should I just like expect that this is how it's going to be forever? And I think just making a post like this was exactly what you needed to do. You know, it was exactly the right thing to do. And I think that it's better to extend an olive branch like this, right, than to just kind of, I think the issue is that I've seen a lot of footage and clips from either devs or people affiliated with them saying, you know, PvPers are crying, they're whining, etc. But like, you guys have to understand, like, you knew this was coming. You guys knew this post was coming, right? You need to put yourself in the PvP community's shoes and understand that they don't know what you guys are working on. We don't know what you guys are doing behind the scenes. And you guys know that you were going to make this post. We didn't know. And it's been a long time of nothing and things getting worse over the last 2 years since you started the performance improvements back in 2020, which again, to me, I'm assuming that they were kind of necessary to get us to this point. And so I'm kind of glad that you guys went through the journey that you did over the last 2 years with the attempted performance changes, right? But you have to understand that we don't know your thought process, okay? And so while people are angry and upset that they're not getting any updates, you guys are like, well, why are they angry? Because we have these plans. But it's like, well, we don't know you have those plans. And so, you know, I feel like, again, making posts like this and doing stuff like this going forward, and again, having a little bit of understanding about where the player base is coming from and why they have the frustrations that they do, and not minimizing their feelings, I think is going to be a good first step to kind of mending the relationship between the company and the PvP community. And at the same time, I also think that, you know, there's been a huge issue. I know there's been a lot of videos talking recently about the toxic casuals in the game, and there's been a lot of staunch defenders and of the company just basically talking a lot of crap about PvP players. And, you know, again, I'm going to try to keep this as kind of constructive as possible to try to make it through. And again, these people probably aren't even watching this video, but, you know, fuck it, YOLO, we'll see. But you guys need to put yourself in other people's shoes. It is really easy to just sit there and go, well, what I do works. Why are these people complaining? Everything is fine. But everything is fine for you. But everything is not fine for someone else, okay? You need to have a little, like, even just the smallest amount of empathy for somebody else, and understand why they might be frustrated, why they might be upset. Because I am sure if your content worked as poorly as PvP did, and you were getting no attention, you would want someone to speak up for you. You would want someone to stand with you and be like, yeah, this is not okay. Like, this, we need an update. Something needs to be changed. Something needs to be fixed. And it is hilarious to me, some of the comments I've seen from, I gotta make sure I word this appropriately. Some of the comments I've seen from certain individuals that like to staunchly defend the company, that just show such a massive disconnect from the realities of what's happening. Because at the end of the day, the PvP community wants one thing: a functional product. We just want to be able to press our abilities, have them go off, not die in dodge roll, not have 60% desyncs. I want to be able to use leap and IC. These are just at the end of the day, it's just, I want the game to work more than it doesn't. And right now that isn't the case. And it's not an unreasonable request to say, I pay for a game, I want it to function. It's not an unreasonable request. And I think, again, you need to put yourself in someone else's shoes, and instead of talking down and being really condescending, ask yourself, how would I feel if this affected my content? How would I feel and how would I be if this affected me? Okay? Because I've just seen so much condescension, and it is baffling to me, where at the end of the day, it's just like, I pay for a product and I want it to work, you know? And the third thing that I want to address is that a lot of the PvP people, man, like, this is going to seem the least constructive thing ever, but just go with me. You gotta chill, man. You gotta chill. You know, you can't ask for a post like this and then re-out when you get it. Okay, like, this is what people have been asking for. This is the first step to communication. And I understand not wanting to just blindly follow it. Trust me, I get it. You know, you want to wait until there's a little more proof in the pudding before you just blindly go, okay, everything's going to be fine. But at the same time, right, being toxic and getting angry and just yelling and name calling, it's not going to help. I implore you that at this point, right, if you're PvPing, you only have a couple of options here. Play the game and understand that this is how it's going to be until the performance fixes are implemented. The performance is what it is for right now, and we kind of have to deal with it, you know, and until performance fixes are implemented. So you can either play through it and deal with it, or and I highly recommend, if you are one of these people who is just so mad and is so angry and is taking it on other people and being toxic, like, take a break, man. I cannot stress enough how good a break from this freaking game is, man. Like, I've taken plenty of breaks over the last couple of years just due to the frustrations with PvP, and they were extremely revitalizing and put a lot in perspective. And I implore you that if you play this game every freaking day, and if you find yourself getting mad, angry, annoyed, toxic, this is a game, bro. You're supposed to be having fun and enjoying it. So like take a break, maybe for a couple of days, maybe a week or a month or a couple of months, but a break might do you some good, because I understand being really frustrated because of no communication, but now that the communication olive branch has been reached out, has been extended, now at this point is when things need to try to get really constructive, okay? And we need to try to look towards the future and try to get improvements to the game mode that we love and care about so much. But guys, that's going to be it for me today. Basically, the thing I just hope is that people can just see others' perspectives and just have a little bit more understanding, because I think it's just that lack of understanding and lack of even talking to each other is kind of what got us here. And I hope to see things get better over 2022. But hopefully you guys liked my discussion on this post. If you did, smack a like on it. Any comments about this, feel free to leave it below. Please keep it civil. Guys, for more MMO content, ESO content, and otherwise, hit that sub button as well as the bell. Keep those notifications on. Thank you all for stopping by. Appreciate it very much. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all next time.